And coming up tonight, we continue the conversation about the OSP with a rare bipartisan consensus in Parliament on calls to repeal the law setting up the office of the Special Prosecutor, as Majority Leader Mahama Ayariga leads attempts to abolish the office.
And I received a call not quite long ago that he has been taken to court, and as we speak, he is actually in court being arraigned.
We have details as Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin says there has not been value for all the money invested in the office since it was set up.
I want to take this opportunity to condemn in no uncertain terms the attack on the team of security officers who have been assigned to help deal with the menace of Galamsey.
Also, JoyNews Research shows the OSP has been allocated over 1.1 billion cedis since its inception. More plus analysis on Newsnight. Also, there's a standoff between the government and the Trades Union Congress over demands of renegotiation of the 2026 minimum wage and base pay following the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission's announcement of new utility tariff hikes.
Well, you cannot give somebody 9 cedis and ask him to go and pay 24 cedis. So the best option for you is to take your 9 cedis that you have slapped on us. Then you'll be okay with it. Otherwise, we will resist the operationalization of these increases in this country.
Coming up in business.
Bank of Ghana declines request for extension of Managing Director of ARB Apex Bank, Alex Kasiewua contract.
And in sports.
Joy Sports set for on-match coverage of the 2026 World Cup drawn Joy Prime tomorrow.
And a bit later, President John Mahama issues strong warning to criminal networks, declaring that Ghana will not surrender a single street, community or public space to criminals.
I will give Bosomi flowers.
To those who insist on disturbing the peace of our nation, whether through armed robbery, organized crime, illegal arms trafficking or gang activity, our message is simple. The Ghanaian state is ready. The Ghana Police Service is ready.
We have more as the IGP says the police service has put in place comprehensive security arrangements ahead of the Christmas season. We've got the latest of these and many other stories coming up in the next 1 hour. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi.
My name is Ofori.
Send us your thoughts and comments on our WhatsApp platform is 055 11 11 997. Details coming up shortly. Don't go anywhere. And this is where we begin tonight, because there's a rare bipartisan consensus in Parliament to repeal the law that set up the office of the Special Prosecutor, as the office comes under intense public scrutiny. Majority Leader Mahama Ayariga, speaking on the floor, insisted that the office is clearly unconstitutional, a view he espoused at the time the office was set up. He says it is time the office was abolished.
Mr. Speaker, the office has been in existence for how many years now? Close to 8 years. Tell me what is really the achievement of that office. What has been the achievement of that office? I cannot see my way clear in terms of the achievement of that office. I have consistently held the position that fighting corruption is not about littering the place with institutions. It is the political commitment of those who lead that fights corruption, not the designations of institutions that have been established. I believe that it is high time that this Parliament reconsiders its decision to approve the establishment of the Office of Special Prosecutor. I think that we should abolish it. I honestly think we should abolish it, because we've experimented it and we cannot see any achievement. Major cases of clear corruption. Up to date, the office has not been able to do anything. So it cannot do anything. If the institution of Attorney General that we established in our Constitution is adequately resourced and protected by Parliament and held accountable by Parliament, I believe that that office will equally deliver. No ministry, no office is established if you look at the cabinet, no office is expressly established by this constitution apart from the Attorney General and Minister for Justice. But I think that it is high time we realize that that constitutional experiment is futile. To say that because the Attorney General is appointed by the President and is a member of a political party, that he will not be functional or effective in fighting corruption. The OSP, is he coming from space? Who is nominating him? The same political process is going to generate the occupant of the office of Special Prosecutor. So he will not be freed of that political pressure.
And that was the Majority Leader, Mahama Ayariga, speaking on the floor of Parliament. Let's take you live to the House now, and Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kwekwa Sante joins us with details. Kwekwa, so what really led to all these talks today about the OSP in the House? Unfortunately, we don't have a parliamentary correspondent, Kwekwa Sante. We are trying to rework the lines to speak with him. The story is that there's been a rare bipartisan consensus in Parliament to repeal the law that set up the office of the Special Prosecutor, as the office comes under intense public scrutiny. Well, earlier we heard the Majority Leader, Mahama Ayariga, speaking on the floor, and he's insisting that the office be abolished. Let's go back to our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent, Kwekwa Sante. Kwekwa, so I was just asking, before we lost you, I was asking what led to all these talks in Parliament today?
Well, earlier, the Majority Chief Whip had raised issues with the arrest of Martin Pebu. We covered that on Top Story. He had raised the issues with what they called abuse of the powers of the OSP, and in particular highlighted the efforts that will be taken to invite him to come before Parliament and explain what led to the conduct that we witnessed yesterday. And so that matter had really gone to bed until the Speaker of Parliament himself came to take the chair. And there were conversations about some of the allocations that have been made to institutions and all of that. The Speaker of Parliament chipped in with certain comments about the fact that he did not believe that the office of the Special Prosecutor in particular has lived up properly to the amount of money that has been invested into it. Just yesterday, Parliament approved nearly 160 million Ghana cedis for the office. In previous years, there were years that he had even gotten 200 million and over. The concern from the Speaker of Parliament is that the office has simply not lived up to the purpose for which it was set up and the funds that have been invested over the years. Listen to the Speaker of Parliament.
In fact, this morning I heard you talking about one of them, that is the OSP. And if you recall, during the deliberation on the OSP, a number of us stated on the floor of this House that there's no constitutional basis. But we wanted to signal to the world that we are going to fight corruption. At the end of the day, we have seen the results. And we cannot continue to allocate that huge sums to the same office when we are not getting the results. This is one of the agencies we should be looking at. It's getting almost the same amount like the Attorney General's Department. Please, let's face the bull by the horns and make sure that the right thing is done. And so I agree with the Majority Leader.
And Kweku, there was a view of the minority on this.
In fact, when this matter came up and the Majority Leader wanted to resurrect the matter and he was speaking, the Speaker cut him short and said that, oh, these matters had already been discussed. But the minority front bench actually said that these were interesting matters. They should go ahead and discuss it. And so after the Majority Leader had spoken, we heard from Samuel Abujinapo, who really did not really give an inkling that the minority were fully in support of this. However, he said that the NDC had the numbers, and if they were so minded to do this, then they should bring the law and do so in Parliament.
He, as member of Parliament, member of the 8th Parliament, the Speaker, he said he opposed the establishment of the Office of Special Prosecutor. And he indicates that his party, the NDC, opposed the establishment of the Office of Special Prosecutor. I have just indicated the policy rationale or the policy motivation for the establishment of that office by the Akufo-Addo government. Just because you yourself, you've indicated that you were also opposed to it. Just because today, the political party that opposed the establishment of the office, the member of that political party who opposed it in the 8th Parliament, today majority leader, leader of government business, in the wisdom of the Ghanaian people, they have given them a super majority. Super majority. They have majority in this house. They have a super majority. Why? What's happening? What's happening? I can't be the speaker. You just made that point about allocation. And you made a point about reset and the fact that we may struggle with the reset. Too much talking. The country needs action. If you believe the office of Special Prosecutor is not fit for purpose, you have the majority, you call us micro-minority, we are mighty minority indeed. Repeal it! What are you waiting for? 1 year down the road, we are still being given sermons and being given lectures and being told that this office is unconstitutional. Mr. Speaker, because with the greatest of respect, one of their own was touched.
Well, JoyNews Research shows that the OSP has been allocated over 1.1 billion cedis since its inception. Let's get a breakdown from JoyNews lead researcher, Kofi Ajay. Now, Kofi, thank you for joining us here on Newsnight. Walk us through how much has been allocated to the OSP since its inception.
Well, so we've been tracking the OSP allocation since 2018, and if we tabulate from 2018 to 2026, in terms of looking at how much the OSP will be allocated even next year, the total from 2018 to 2026 is about 1.199 billion Ghana cedis, so approximately 1.2 billion cedis allocated to the OSP since 2018.
And walk us through these allocations in each of these years.
Well, so if you take a look at 2018, for instance, that was the year that saw the lowest allocation. It was just around 3.8 million Ghana cedis. By 2019, this figure had been increased to 180 million cedis, and since then, the average has been around 160 million, Ghana cedis. If you look at 2025, for instance, the total budgetary allocation for the OSP is around 158 million Ghana cedis. We are looking at the compensation of employees budget. It means that out of this 146.7 million Ghana cedis, about 50% of that budget, of the OSP's budget this year, is expected to be used for the payment of salaries and wages or compensation of employees. About 54.9 million of that is expected to go for goods and services, and capital expenditure is around 20 million Ghana cedis. But essentially, majority of the OSP's budget for this year and the years that we have seen, on the average, about 50% has been for the wages and salaries of that office.
And finally, let's compare the OSP's budget to other anti-corruption agencies. What do we have?
So, within that same period, where the OSP has been allocated 1.2 billion between 2018 and 2026, you have the AG's office also having, a similar budget to the OSP, even though the AG's office or the Ministry of Justice and Attorney General, under its budget has the EOCO also draws its budget from the AG. The Registrar General's Department also draws its budget from the AG, and the law school as well all draw their budgets from the AG. But the AG, within this period that we are analyzing, its budgetary allocation has been around 2.7 billion Ghana cedis. SRAJ is way below the budgetary allocation for the OSP between 2018 and 2026. It is less than half of OSP's budget. Around 531 million Ghana cedis. EOCO, on the other hand, is also way below the budgetary allocation for the OSP since 2018. EOCO's is around 282 million Ghana cedis, while the OSP's budget has been around 1.2 billion cedis.
Isaac Ofioje, thank you so much for that breakdown. He's JoyNews lead researcher.
Well, let's bring in Edem Senane, who is an anti-corruption crusader, and Kofi Bentel, who is a senior vice president at Imani Africa. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time this evening. Edem, you have always backed the OSP, and now there's a bipartisan approach in Parliament. Members from both the minority and majority are calling for its abolishment. What do you have to say to that?
Well, I think it's always about the arguments that are at the table. A question on my mind is whether the circumstances that birthed the OSP have changed. I heard the majority speaker talk about how allowing or equipping the AG with all that money would make a difference. That the argument that the AG would not be able to prosecute his own is virtually neither here nor there. It's difficult to agree with the majority speaker on that. I think we should be cautious. We set up this office specifically because we're worried about politicians who take our country and with impunity begin to siphon up resources that otherwise could be channeled into development. I'm not quite sure that any attorney general, and the historical records had already shown that. That's why we're willing to go with this kind of arrangement. I think also if we're going to make any comparisons, we should remember that the Office of the Special Prosecutor is now being developed. Unlike some of its peers, whether YOCO, BNI, CID, TRAJ, that were already in existence, had offices and buildings across the country. This is being built from scratch. So if you want to do a financial comparison, you need to keep that in mind. Otherwise, you are comparing oranges with apples, and that may not give us the right conclusions.
Adam, and of course, this crusade is being championed largely by the majority in Parliament. Let me bring in Kofi Bentel, and he's the senior vice president at Imani Africa. When Martin Pegbu was arrested and subsequently discharged, he said that this is the final nail in the coffin for the office of the Special Prosecutor. In fact, the Special Prosecutor, Gyasi Jabin, to go. Do you think that with this new crusade coming from Parliament, the majority side, it is a culmination of things that the OSP has failed to do, and really finally what happened with the issue with Martin Pegbu that has resulted in the voices coming from Parliament saying that it should be scrapped?
Well, thank you. But please, let's be clear and let's put things in a proper context. Very few people are calling for the abolition of the office of the Special Prosecutor. Many people are saying the person occupying the office, as in the Special Prosecutor, is misconducting himself. The two are very different.
Thanks for that correction. But today, what is coming from Parliament is that the majority side of the House are supporting a total abolishment of the OSP office completely.
Let me learn. I'm laying the foundation so you get it right. I haven't heard anybody, apart from the politicians on both sides, calling for the abolition of the office of the Special Prosecutor. But the rest of the country, most of us are saying the Special Prosecutor, the person, is the one committing errors that should not be pardoned. And I'm saying the two are different. Next point I need to make is this. The politicians on both sides have never supported the setting up of the office of the Special Prosecutor. Some of us were part of the discussion from the beginning after President Kufuor's time. It was opposed by every one of them from all sides, because essentially that office was set up to prosecute politicians, because a lot of the corruption was coming from politicians, especially the executive. And we have had 50 years of experience that the Attorney General, who is a political appointee coming out of cabinet, appointed by a president, has never been able to prosecute their own properly. We have had very few exceptions. Okay, even today, you have a situation where when a new Attorney General comes into office, they issue knowledge protocols across the board to free their colleagues. So look, we have an experience running 50 years. Based on that, we set up this office. And let's be clear, the OSP's office is less than 10 years old. We cannot say that because somebody made a mistake here and there for, a few years, we should abolish the whole experiment. And let us also declare that the OSP office is part of a wider arrangement. We just did that first because the corruption was too much. But the idea is that the government is one, the executive which is elected is another entity. Presidents come and go every 4 years. So even in the last government, the president appointed the President's Council. And we have always said that this whole idea of one Attorney General who is advising the President, who is advising the state, who is prosecuting everybody, and who is also the solicitor advising on contracts and etc., it's not working because things have become complex. So we need to have an independent Solicitor General advising government on contracts and things, an independent prosecutor, which is currently the OSP, and then we can have a President's Council who can be a political appointee to advise the government. The point we must make is this. It is too early to talk about abrogating that office. And the people who are calling for it are actually, in a sense, the targets. We citizens must be careful when the politicians band together. With all due respect to them and everything, we must be sure that what they are asking for is not self-serving. The special prosecutor is different from the office.
Right.
If we have a problem with the special prosecutor, let's deal with it. We can always change them. Okay. But the office must remain.
Kofi Bentil is the senior vice president of Imani Africa. And earlier we heard from Edem Senani, who is an anti-corruption campaigner. And the minority are on the fence of this particular push for the abolishment of the OSP. But the majority side of the House are leading this crusade.
And let's move away from OSP-related matters, and there is a standoff between government and the Trades Union Congress as the union intensifies pressure over the latest utility tariff adjustment. The TUC is demanding a renegotiation of the 2026 minimum wage and base pay or a withdrawal of the newly announced tariff increases. This comes in the wake of the PURC's recent announcement of a 9.8% hike in electricity tariffs and 15.9% for water, expected to take effect on January 1, 2026. The same day government 9% adjustment to the minimum wage and the base pay comes into force.
Well, the TUC insists workers cannot absorb the tariff hikes under the current wage structure, warning that anything short of renegotiation will lead to a mobilization of workers to resist what it calls harsh and insensitive increases. We'll hear from them shortly, but first listen to Labour and Employment Relations Minister Rashid Pelpo, who says government is open for discussions.
But that's not the way to negotiate. That's not the way to talk. Where there are issues, don't say either you do this or this. We have opened up for discussions. Let us see exactly what you are looking for. Let's see what it is that is hurting you. And let's all work together to achieve that understanding and that specific objective for which we are talking. I think that the face of our interaction must change. In the past, you see people trying to even go on strike without getting to closer discussion. We respect TUC a lot, and we believe that that cooperation that we enjoy from them should continue to take place.
Meanwhile, the Secretary General of the TUC, Joshua Ansah, insists government must either withdraw the tariff increases entirely or return to the negotiation table to enhance the 2026 wage adjustment.
As for the two options that we stated in our statement, we want to consider the complete withdrawal of the tariff increases. We are not even interested in the top-up of the salary. But if government thinks that it cannot withdraw, then there's a need for government to renegotiate the 9%. Because you cannot give somebody 9 cedis and ask him to go and pay 24 cedis. So the best option for you is to take your 9 cedis that you have slapped on us. Then you'll be okay with it. Otherwise, as stated, we will resist the operationalization of these increases in this country.
You're listening to Newsnight. It's time for business, and George Yafe is here. George, what do we have?
Well, coming up in business, Bank of Ghana declines request for extension of Managing Director of ARB Apex Bank, Alex Kasewu's contract. Economist Dr. Duo Susakode warns government not to be complacent despite significant progress made on slowing inflation to the single-digit range. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials, Sinter's tanks and Pepsodent, Herbal and Charcoal. You welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, Bank of Ghana has declined a request seeking to extend the contract of the current managing director of ARB Apex Bank, Alex Kosiewa. The managing director wanted a no objection to renewal of his contract. Workers of the institution had in recent times been pushing for an immediate resolution of the issue, warning that any delay could result in some industrial action and staff agitations. But speaking to Joy Business, head of communications at the Bank of Ghana, Bernard Otabel, says the regulator could not grant his request.
Well, the whole idea is, as a regulator, we have processes and procedures that we follow. If the workers have expressed any concerns to us, or they have met us to discuss the issue, perhaps they would have understood it a bit more from the perspective where we are coming from. But be it as it may, they are governed by a board. ARB Apex Bank PLC is governed by a board. They have a management structure. They have a governance structure. The board chairman has actually spoken to us in terms of, through the letter that I mentioned earlier, and expressing his willingness and or his acceptance of the letter that we sent to him and the decision that the central bank has come to. So I believe that within their own internal arrangement, whatever needs to be communicated to the workers would be done, and therefore there's nothing untoward going on. So there's no problem at all.
Based on this action, can we say that this chapter should be closed because, as a regulator of this industry, you have moved to address all these concerns?
The chapter is closed. It's definitely closed.
Bernard Otabel is Director of Communications at the Bank of Ghana. Now, commercial banks have indicated that they would move quickly to adjust their lending rates in the coming days. Now, this was after the Ghana reference rate, which acts as a benchmark for certain interest rates, dropped to 15.9%. John Iwa is Chief Executive of the Ghana Association of Banks, and he has been speaking to Joy Business.
The lending rates from the commercial banks will definitely come down in whatever period from now on when the new Ghana reference rate has been published. So if you have a facility with a bank that is benchmarked to the reference rate, you definitely will be experiencing a reduction in your lending rate. As you may know, the Ghana reference rate is published once a month. We published the most recent one yesterday, that is Wednesday, the 3rd of December 2025. And the publication on Wednesday took into account the reduction in the policy rate, and that is what has resulted in the Ghana reference rate coming down from 17.86 to 15.9. So as we speak now, as of now, if you're approaching a bank for a facility, the rate reduction will definitely be reflecting. And if you have a facility already with the banks, and as you said in your introduction, which is benchmarked, which is a variable rate facility, obviously you are also going to experience a reduction in the interest rate on that loan.
Chief Executive of the Ghana Association of Banks, John Iwa. Now, economist Dr. Edo Sarkodie has charged government not to be complacent despite the significant progress made in slowing inflation to the single digit. Inflation for the month of December dropped to 6.3%, the lowest since 2021. But Dr. Edo Sarkodie has maintained that despite the progress, there is still a lot of work that needs to be done.
Food inflation is still higher than the non-food inflation. So it means that in terms of food management, there's a lot to be done as a country. If you take the imported inflation, local inflation is higher than the imported inflation. There are some challenges that we must address with respect to transportation, storage. The regional breakdown also indicates to us that some regions are doing far better than others. In fact, I checked all the 16 regions. 8 regions have their inflations higher than the average of 6.3, and the remaining 8 regions have their inflations lower. But other, regions like Northeast, Eastern region, Volta region, Northern region are experiencing double-digit inflation.
And that is an economist, Dr. Edu Owusu Sarkodie. Now, Deputy Minister for Energy and Green Transition, Richard Jan Mensah, has rallied governments, investors, and young innovators to seize the emerging opportunities in the region's rapid expanding power market. Now, speaking at the West African Energy Corporation Summit in Accra, he raised the need or highlighted the need of demand for power, which requires the needed investments.
Borders may divide us, but energy can unite us. Electricity does not respect physical borders. It can be the common economic currency that lifts many of our people from poverty. And this is where the young people enter the story. We need youths who design interconnected renewable systems across borders, build clean tech startup that can scale up after, develop digital tools that reduce 20% to 30% distribution losses, crippling many West African utilities, who can write policy ideas and strengthen AFSEM, WAP, and ACRE. Youth who refuse to think small because the region needs leaders with bold and continental vision. You are not just the future, you are the force shaping the present.
Richard Jan Mensah is the Deputy Minister for Energy and Green Transition. And Kenneth, tonight on PM Express Business, you know tomorrow is Farmers' Day, and we are dedicating our 1 hour 30-minute discussion to issues about food security. We heard about glut and all those things. And what is our state of preparedness to ensure that we have still adequate supply next year. So we are engaging the Deputy Minister of Agric, that is John Jomelo. He will be joining us. Also, Bismarck Norte of the Peasant Farmers will also be joining us. And also Edward Caraway, he is the Director of Policy and Advocacy with the institution Legal and Entrepreneurship Support Hub, will also be our guest, as well as the Anthony Morrison. He is the Chief Executive of the Chamber of Agribusiness. These four distinguished persons in the agri sector will be having some discussion ahead of the Farmers' Day tomorrow on the state of Ghana's food security in the midst of all these glut issues, and going into next year, what is going to happen. So it's at 9 p.m. on JoyNews and all our social media channels.
That's an interesting conversation nobody should miss. It's now time for sports, and Benaya is here with the latest. What do you have for us?
Kenneth.
Yeah.
All eyes will be on Washington, D.C., USA tomorrow as the world awaits for the 2026 FIFA World Cup draw. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Well, I've already drawn my predictions for tomorrow's draw. I have
Ghana
in the group with Spain, Scotland, and Australia. How do you see that?
Not bad. Where will we be based? USA?
It will depend.
Hopefully,
yeah. Yeah. So the draw will take place at the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts, where the group stage matchups for the first ever 48-team World Cup will be decided. The event kicks off at 5 p.m. Ghana time, and Joy Sports, as you know, will give us the best coverage on Joy Prime from 4 p.m. Now, Joy Sports editor Fentio Tahiru Fentio has shared what viewers should expect from the show tomorrow.
So our 3-hour broadcast of the FIFA World Cup draw will consist of 3 different hours of different kind of content. The first hour will be dedicated to breaking down all the permutations, all the cities, all the draw mechanisms, and everything you need to know about Ghana's participation. The worst case scenario draw for Ghana, best case scenario draw for Ghana, Ghana's journey to the World Cup, what previous World Cup groups look like, and all of that. And then the second hour, which would be from 5 to 6 p.m., would be the actual draw when we join the feed from Washington, D.C. And after that, we will take reactions for the last hour from the draw. So we have ex-players, CK O'Connor, Lai Kingston joining our feed, Rahman Osman as well. So it's a fully packed 3-hour show starting 4 p.m. that will give you everything you need to know about the FIFA World Cup, even cities and what to expect from those cities in case Ghana gets drawn to play any matches in any city. All of that perspective will be brought to you on this show.
So, Kenneth, we hope that whatever happens tomorrow, Ghana should be based in the USA.
Okay, even if we don't get USA, at least Canada.
But the way boys are wild for USA, if you don't get USA, as in get to stay in USA, Charlie, boys go vex here.
But so you're looking very sharp. I thought today Charlie, was your wedding day or something.
I mean, you know that you are ready for tomorrow.
Benaya, thank you very much for bringing us the latest in sports. Pearl, what do we have next?
Well, President Mahama has sent a clear warning to criminal networks that Ghana will not surrender a single street, community or public space to them. Now, speaking after handing over 40 armored vehicles to the Ghana Police Service, the police headquarters, he said to those who insist on disturbing the peace of Ghana, whether through armed robbery, organized crime, illegal arms trafficking or gang activity, the country's laws will deal decisively with them.
Let me state clearly, our dear country Ghana will not surrender a single street, a community, or any public space to criminals today, tomorrow, or forever. To those who insist on disturbing the peace of our nation, whether through armed robbery, organized crime, illegal arms trafficking, or gang activity, our message is simple. The Ghanaian state is ready. The Ghana Police Service is ready. The laws of this republic will deal decisively with anyone who endangers the safety of our people.
He had that President John Dramani Mahama, Presidential Affairs Correspondent Maxwell Agbaba, joins us with more. Maxwell, so the President said that soon the police detachment will be trained on how to use drones for urban surveillance and information gathering. Tell us more about that.
Yes, Bill. So the President mentioned that the 40 armored vehicles are just the first batch of what the police will receive. He says by the end of this month, the police will receive 2 tow trucks. They will also get 10 Govt operational vehicles, and that every police district will also receive a pickup for patrol duties. And he also mentioned that soon the police detachment is going to be trained on how to use drones for urban surveillance.
And so let me begin by commending the IGP, the Police Management Board, and all the officers and rank and file of the Ghana Police Service. You are doing a good job. Our highways are getting safer because you've taken on the highway robbers and you have dealt with them. People who rob banks, attack people's residences, you have chalked many victories in bringing them to justice. Let me commend the CID too. In the past, there were many unsolved murders. I'm happy to note that recently, many of the murders that occurred with good police intelligence, you've been able to bring the suspects to book. These 40 vehicles are just the first batch. By the end of this month, you receive 2 tow trucks so that anytime any of these vehicles gets immobilized anywhere, you can go and pick the vehicle and bring it back to base. You will also get 10 Govt operational vehicles that I have been cautioned not to talk about. It's only you who will know you have them. We want to give every police district a normal pickup for patrol duties. And next year, you receive another 100 light armored Toyota LX pickups. Aside from that, National Security is introducing drones for surveillance. And so there's going to be a police detachment that will be trained how to use drones for urban surveillance and information gathering in any theaters that you are involved in.
Well, Maxwell, the IGP also spoke at the same event.
Yes. He says the police is leaving no stone unturned in ensuring the general safety of all Ghanaians, of all persons living in the country, especially as we prepare, for the Christmas festivities. He said there will be increased patrols and police presence before, during, and after the festivities.
Let me use this opportunity to send a strong word of caution to persons who have decided to disturb the security of this country. We are coming for you. You can run all you want and hide wherever you wish, but we will surely get you. We would also like to assure the public that we continue to ensure safety and security on our roads and within our communities to enable everyone go about their duties without any fear. As the Christmas festivities approach, be rest assured that a comprehensive security arrangement has been put in place before, during, and after the festivities. We urge you to continue to support us, come on board, share information with the police so that together we will continue to make our beloved country one of the safest places in the sub-region. In all these operations, our officers had to go into very challenging territories in the pursuit of very dangerous criminals who are mostly armed and are ready to do anything to evade arrest, including opening fire on our officers. With the protective equipment available to us, we have done our best to minimize casualties as much as possible. But I'm sad to report that on some occasions, we have suffered some casualties. Some of our men have sustained life-threatening injuries, and in some instances, unfortunately, some have paid the ultimate price. It is against this backdrop that I am particularly delighted that today we are receiving these armored vehicles, which are going to ensure utmost protection for our officers as they gallantly execute our mandate of protecting life and property.
So that's the IGP Christian Yohonu. And here are a few of your messages that you have been sending to us. This is Musa Abattoir in Aswase in the Ashanti region. He says the arrest of Martin Pigbu is unnecessary and highlights growing concerns about abuse of power and incompetence within the OSP. Instead of strengthening the fight against corruption, the office is undermining it and wasting taxpayers' money. And this is from Gyasi in Sakumono. He says the arguments of the Speaker of Parliament and the Majority Leader are pedestrian in respect to the resources allocated to it. Per their logic, the Attorney General's Department and YOCO, NIB for that matter, have outlived their usefulness. And this is from Sam Bannerman in the USA. He says it's about time the institutions set up by law to do their jobs, which includes the OSP, are allowed to do their jobs. Politicians and influentials in society should not interfere. And this one also says, so the majority had all the behavior of the OSP and YOCO against boys and girls, social media and Shatawale, and did not talk. Now it's their own. They are crying. Ghana is indeed dead. Sad, he adds. Those are some of the messages that we have been receiving on our WhatsApp console, pal.
And today on Personality Profile, Lexus Bill was speaking to the Sports Minister, Kofi Adams. You don't want to miss that one.
That should be an interesting conversation. But that's how we wrap up tonight on News Night. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi.
My name is Ofori.
Have a good evening.